Brava! Brava! Excellent show. Wow, aren't we lucky to have heard that original recording of an old man applauding a play by William Shakespeare in 1602. I believe he was the only audience member that day. Ticket sales must have been slow. A captivating recording, as usual. Hello! I almost didn't see you there. Welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. This is the podcast where I look at sonnets and try and work out what they mean. If you don't know that already and you're just diving into Sonnet 25, go back and have a listen. For God's sake, what are you doing at Sonnet 25? No, come on. I'm only joking. Please stay. I need you as a listener. And those of you that have heard all the other sonnets, good to have you back. I think you know what you're in for in this one. More of the same old shit. Right, let's look at Sonnet 25, shall we? Sonnet 25. Let those who are in favour with their stars of public honour and proud titles boast, whilst I, whom fortune of such triumph bars, unlooked for joy in that I honour most. Great princes' favourites their fair leaves spread, but as the marigold at the sun's eye, and in themselves their pride lies buried, for at a frown they in their glory die. The painful warrior famous for worth, after 1,000 victories once foiled, is from the book of honour raised quite, and all the rest forgot for which he toiled. Then happy I that love and am beloved, where I may not remove nor be removed. You know what? Sonnet 25 is a breath of fresh air compared to Sonnet 24. Sonnet 24 was so confusing that I almost just gave up the whole podcast and thought, what's the bloody point? What is the point in this? So great to have one that I at least vaguely understand. Well, I say vaguely understand, but probably when I deconstruct it, I'll get people saying that's not at all what it means. But at least I think I know what it means. And that's all that matters, isn't it? Right, let's break this down line by line. So we start with, let those who are in favour with their stars of public honour and proud titles boast. So let the people that are in favour with the stars, that's pretty self-explanatory, you know. Let them boast about their lovely titles and the honour that they have. You know, let them be like, oh, I'm a prince. Yeah, well, I'm a lord. Let them do that. Whilst I, whom fortune of such triumph bars, unlooked for joy, in that I honour most. So here he's saying, whilst I, who's not as lucky as those people I was just talking about, I'm actually experiencing some unexpected joy in what I honour the most, which I imagine, knowing Shakespeare, is love. Specifically, the love of the recipient of the poem, I imagine. Now look, I know he doesn't say what he honours the most is love, but we all know it's love, isn't it? It's not opium. He doesn't honour opium the most. It's not his cat. It's love. Then he continues, great princes' favourites their fair leaves spread, but as the marigold at the sun's eye, and in themselves their pride lies buried, for at a frown they in their glory die. I had to take that whole chunk because it's kind of all in one, that one. So here I think he's saying, you know those people that suck up to princes and go, oh, you're amazing, I love you. They are just like marigolds that bloom as long as the sun's shining on them. But actually, their pride is buried And if one of those princes were to frown at them, they'd absolutely crumble. So they're pathetic little men, really. Now here's the next analogy. The painful warrior famous for worth after 1,000 victories once foiled is from the book of honour razed quite, and all the rest forgot for which he toiled. And here I think he's saying, a famous warrior that has won loads, thousands of battles, that's all great and that, but as soon as he's defeated, he loses all of those honours and the successes, and he's just forgotten. So what was the point? And now we're on to the final couplet. Then happy I that love and am beloved, where I may not remove nor be removed. So here he's saying, I'm way happier than that, because I love and am loved. And that place of love that I'm in, I can't be removed from. Equally, I can't remove you from it. I think that's what he's getting at. So it is essentially another sort of love poem, but it's kind of masked in Shakespeare just slagging off people that suck up to princes and warriors. Again, is he jealous of those people? Probably a little bit. And this is the only way he can sort of get back at them, going, oh, look at you, you're so pathetic. Whereas I've got love, which is actually a very smug thing to say, isn't it? If I were to think of a sort of modern equivalent, it's like your mates working a 9 to 5 and they come home and you're there and you're like, oh, how was working for the man? And they're like, yeah, fine. You're like, was it? Because I think that's tragic, actually. Whereas I'm in love. You should try it sometime. That's the modern equivalent. And when you put it like that, it makes Shakespeare sound like a bit of an asshole. But, hey, he was an alright writer, wasn't he? Well, I have to say, that was one of the quickest diagnoses of a sonnet yet from me, and I'm quite proud of myself. We did that in 7 minutes, and I say we, you didn't do anything. It was me. It was all me. And you know what? If we make the story that accompanies this nice and short, which I will endeavour to do, we can all get on with our lives, and I can stop speaking and you can stop listening. Because it's a burden, isn't it? It's a burden for both of us. You don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. But here we are. Right, quick recap of what happened in the story last week. Shakespeare was in the pub with David, the actor from Romeo and Juliet, and he had taken an easel and some paint and stuff off an old man in the pub and had painted Sonnet 24 onto it like a maniac, and then shown it to David. So let's find out what David thought of that and how Sonnet 25 fits into everything. David finished reading Sonnet 24 that was painted crudely by William Shakespeare. He said, I don't get it. And Shakespeare said, I thought you might not get it. And David said, what is this? What is this? Is this meant to be a love poem? And Shakespeare said, yeah, it's meant to be. It's not my finest work. And David said, well, great. I'm really pleased that you're trying out your worst material on me. That makes me feel really special. And Shakespeare said, it's not my worst because I'm Shakespeare, so nothing's bad. And David said, listen to yourself and read that back and tell me it's not bad. And he grabbed the easel and he shoved it into Shakespeare's chest, and the paint hadn't dried, and it went all over Shakespeare's little white frock. David went off into the night, and Shakespeare in despair turned round to the painter who he'd stolen the easel off and said, "Oh, well done. Are you happy with yourself? Look what you've made me do. You've made me produce bad art." And the painter looked at him in disbelief and said, "If you don't leave now, William Shakespeare, I'll cut your neck." And Shakespeare said, "Fair enough, sir. I will leave. That was out of order. I'm sorry. I'm just quite emotional." And the painter said, "I get it. We have tough days like this, don't we, as artists?" And Shakespeare said, "We do." And they hugged. And then Shakespeare left the pub with his tail between his legs. He didn't actually have a tail. That's just a saying. He walked along the South Bank, passing all walks of life, London dignitaries and down and outs. He looked up at the moon. It shone brightly, illuminating his way. Behind him, he caught a glimpse of a cat, a little ginger tabby, following his every step. He must have walked about an hour and a half along the South Bank, past the National Theatre and the BFI and Oaxaca, when he realised the cat was still following him. He turned round. The cat stopped. They looked into each other's eyes. Shakespeare slowly bent down and pulled a little bit of bread from his pocket. Don't ask why he had bread in his pocket. And he offered the bread to the cat. The cat instantly came over and nibbled the bread from Shakespeare's hand. Shakespeare scooped up the ginger tabby and stroked it. He sat with the cat in his arms for a good few hours, thinking about life and how down he was and how love always seemed to escape him. The cat started meowing, as if feeling in the same situation as Shakespeare himself. And he said, "You'll listen to me, won't you?" And the cat meowed back. And he said, "I'm going to read you a sonnet." And the cat yawned. And he said, "All right, well, it's a good one." And the cat slowly blinked. And Shakespeare said, "Well, if you don't want to hear it, you can get out of here." And he dropped the cat. And the cat, shocked, but stood still and looked up at him. And Shakespeare said, "That's what I thought." And he cleared his throat and recited Sonnet 25 to the cat. Sonnet 25. Let lucky people boast about their titles and successes, while I, who am not as fortunate as them, have unexpected joy in our love for each other. People who suck up to great princes obviously get attention just like a marigold does from the sun. Their pride is so buried in themselves that even a frown from the person they worship will break them. A brilliant warrior who has won thousands of battles is beaten once, and all their hard-fought success will be forgotten. How much happier am I to love and be loved in a place I can neither leave or be removed from. Oh, that was a nice one, wasn't it? You didn't expect him to read a poem to the cat, did you? You thought it would be another one to David, didn't you? You thought you knew where the story was going. But you didn't. And that is what I pride myself on. Tales that take twists and turns, much like, say, the works of William Shakespeare. I guess you could say I am a modern Shakespeare. And just to let you know, what's so amazing about these stories, and you might not be able to tell this because they're so dense and rich, is that I am making them up on the spot. They are not written, which is quite incredible when you think about it. Doesn't that blow your mind that what all of these stories that I've been reading, they're not written? Just let that sink in for a moment. That's all just off the top of my head. Quite incredible. An incredible mind. How lucky you are. People will look back on these podcasts in 600 years and go, wow, this is one of the greats analysing one of the greats' works. Do you see what I mean? And you're here for it, listening to it for the first time. Quite incredible. Right. That's it probably for this week. I'll see you next week. Bye.